Hello and welcome back to the Civil Barrister channel with me, James Wilson from Park Square Barristers in Leeds. A few days ago I posted a video in relation to what appears to be the standard directions coming out of the Manchester Civil Justice Centre in relation to running fast-track trials remotely. Similarly, the North Eastern Circuit is keen to run the appropriate trials remotely. And we've had a meeting with the designated civil judges of Sheffield, His Honour Judge Robinson, and Newcastle, His Honour Judge Friedman, along with the presider, Mr Justice Lavender. They are very keen for parties to identify cases which are appropriate to run remotely and get those trials on in their trial period. With that in mind, the North Eastern Circuit has created a pilot protocol which covers all trials listed within the period the 1st of June to the 31st of July, listed in the court centres of Newcastle, Sheffield and Teesside. At present it covers 4 chambers: Park Lane Plowden, Trinity, Deer Street and Park Square Barristers, although that is not an exclusive list. The idea of the protocol is for the parties to be proactive, identify those cases which can and should be heard remotely, and make contact with the court so that the court is aware that that will happen. In a similar way to Manchester, the pilot protocol identifies 3 categories of cases: red, amber and green. Red cases are those where it's agreed by the parties that it can't be held remotely. Amber is where it's identified by at least one party that it can be held remotely, and green is where all parties agree that it can be held remotely. In the circumstances of a red case, the court can be notified of that and that will be taken out of the list more than likely. In circumstances of an amber case, there are provisions for identifying that to the court and then listing it for a hearing to hear submissions about it. And in the circumstances of a green case, the court will be notified of that fact and an interim hearing will be held between the 18th and the 25th of May to identify any issues and move that case towards trial. A couple of important points. Identification of these cases should be done by the 7th of May, so that's by the end of next week. Those cases which are green and identified as such will be given trial priority. So it's important that if you think you've got trials in those court centres during that protocol period, that they are identified to the court as such. Another headline of the protocol is the way that counsel will assist this process. There's more onus on counsel to be involved at this stage, perhaps 8 weeks before trial, than would usually be the case in a lot of these types of cases. And counsel has been encouraged to identify cases that they're instructed in that fall within the protocol and contact their instructing solicitors. In doing so, they will, in conjunction with their solicitors, identify some of the issues, and there's a helpful checklist at the end of this protocol, and I'll post a link to the protocol. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is in the box, same with LinkedIn. If you're watching on Instagram, the link to my YouTube channel is in the bio above. But those issues will be discussed between counsel and solicitor in the hope that they can identify those cases which can and should be run remotely. But it's important, if you want those cases within that period to run in those courts remotely, that there's some proactive work that goes on in the next week to at least notify the court and then work towards the interim CMC to get the case before the judge remotely and then get the case finally listed for trial. If there are any issues or questions arising out of that, please feel free to DM me or to email me. I was in the meeting with the judges. There was a very helpful discourse between us and the judges, and so I may know, simply by being there, the answers to some of the questions that you may have.